Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Grand Traverse. We are a community who share joys and concerns with each other and move forward to make this world a better place. From the Grand Traverse region through the whole rest of the world, India, China, Nigeria, Israel, and Gaza, and everywhere good people live. We share this service with adults and children. At the beginning of the service now, the children will join with the adults here in the service. And then Chelsea Bentley, who's out there, our religious education director, will share a special story with us, and then we'll take the children to the religious education room. We build beloved community by making good trouble, embodying radical love, and engaging in lifelong learning. If we have any visitors today, if you feel comfortable, please stand up, and Chris will come around with a mic for you to tell us who you are and where you're from. There's one.
Hi, I'm Bert Gregory, and I am from Palm Springs, California, visiting you on this wonderful holiday Pride weekend.
My name's David. I used to live in Kalamazoo. I'll be living up here somewhere.
Welcome.
My name is Laura. I was a member of this church about 15 years ago, and I decided to come back. So it's kind of like a welcome back, I'm new again type of situation. So, hi.
Hi, welcome back. Okay, so you visitors, sorry.
My name is Tom. I'm from Massachusetts. I'm here for 1 week to help with the campaign.
Great. No, there's another. No.
One more.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, we would like to ask our visitors to please take a yellow cup at the coffee hour so that we can introduce ourselves to you. Okay, if you have a joy or concern to share with us, please write in the Joy and Concerns book to your left. Reverend Alex will read them later in the service. And now I want to thank Marge Hunter, who's going to play Rigodon, I hope I did that right, on the piano for our centering music. Please silence your electrical devices and let the service begin.
Whoever you are and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here with us this morning. I'm Reverend Alex, the senior minister here at UUCGT. I use he and him pronouns. Today's service is going to get interesting. You're probably wondering what the whole connection to the peanut butter and the jelly is a little bit. We'll try not to have too much of that get lost in translation, but some of the mysteries just need to be for the time being. So if you're wondering what these tables are here, that's right where you need to be. As we settle into our service, hear these words from the Reverend Dr. David Breeden. Welcome to this place where certainty transforms into questions. This place that takes what is and imagines what could be. Welcome to this space where what was fixed begins to shift, where rigidity embraces unfolding as we join in the dance of transformation. Welcome to this moment of change, where together we transfigure and transcend together. Come, let us worship together this morning.
Okay, Alex is going to light the candle, and I would like you to join in with some words. So if you go to the back page of your order of service, we have the words in there. So join me in saying, grounded in love, we protect the web of life by building good community, building good trouble, embodying radical love, and engaging in lifelong learning. And now, let us enter this sacred time set apart from our busy and full lives as we listen to the sound of the singing bowl, deep, calling unto deep. Anne Marie will now lead number 179, Words We Hold Light, with Marge on the piano and Bill Haggard on the drum.
Would you please rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing hymn number 179, Words That We Hold Tight. Words that we hold tight won't let us go, as we don't follow, will haunt us so. What will unto us is not our friend. Show us, O Spirit, how to befriend. Show us
we good now, Jeff? All right. If my young friends would like to come join us up front, that would be lovely, because we need your help today. Oh, no. All right, so we have a special guest again today. Reverend Alex is going to be up here. And since we have only a few kids, we might need help from the grown-ups too, but we'll see. So Reverend and Alex and I have a very special, important task today. We're going to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But we don't know how to make them. We've never made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches before. Have you ever made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Yes. Thank goodness. Because I have never made one, and neither has Reverend Alex, and we need you to teach us. So we're going to ask you, friends, to tell us how to do this. So one step at a time. You have to be very clear with your directions. Okay? Are you up to the task? I think we have all of the ingredients. We have jelly. We have peanut butter. We have bread. Do we need any other ingredients? Okay, do we need any tools? A knife and a plate and maybe a napkin in case things get messy. We'll see. Okay, so what is step one? Like this? Open the jelly first. Okay, open the jelly. Put it on the bread? Oh, okay, on the slices of bread. Okay, put the jelly. How much? Like just keep squeezing out? Oh, okay, that's enough. Okay, sorry. You said to spread it with what? My hand? With the knife. Okay. Spread it with the knife.
I told you that was too much.
Oh, well, you didn't tell me when to stop. Okay. Jelly on one piece of bread.
And then you do the same with the other piece of bread and the peanut butter.
Whoa. So I put it on the bread like this again. I put this peanut butter on this slice of bread. I open the lid, and I dump it out like I did with the jelly.
No.
This doesn't dump out. Guys, I don't know. It's not, you scoop it with the knife. Okay. And spread it on what? On the top? On this bread. I'm confused. Okay, the peanut butter is on the knife. Where does it go? In my mouth. On this piece of bread. Reverend Alex, how are you doing over there?
I'm really struggling here.
Okay. I can't see him, so I don't know what he's doing. Okay, so the peanut butter goes on the bread. Just like that?
On the side like this?
On the side. Reverend Alex. On the flat part of the bread. And I just do like I did with the jelly, and I spread it around. What do I do with all this extra peanut butter? Okay.
How am I doing?
Okay. Excellent.
And then
Now what?
put the peanut butter, the side with the peanut butter on top of the side with the jelly on the other piece of bread.
Okay. I think I got it. That was a very good direction, because I would probably have put this backwards if you had not told me how to do it the right way. That is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Now what do I do with it? It's delicious. Thank you, my friends. Why did we just do that? That was very silly. So why do you think we just did that? If we're talking about being lost in translation today, grown-ups, you can answer too. Why do you think we just did this very silly skit? We're talking about communicating. Do you think I really know how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Probably, right? I have actually made a few in my lifetime. But I was listening very specifically to the directions that you were giving. And sometimes people hear things and they translate them differently in their brain, right? Have you ever read the Amelia Bedelia books?
No.
Grown-ups have. I hear some ahas around the room. I feel like those are like lost to a generation, and they shouldn't be because they're great. Amelia Bedelia is this character where they would say all kinds of, normal directions to her. What was one? Can somebody give me an example of one of the directions? Huh? Steak the peas, and she would put a steak, like the steak that you eat, on the peas. But what they really meant was to put a stake in the ground and make sure the peas had something to climb up, right? Any other grown-ups have another Amelia Bedelia example? Dress the salad, that's such a good one. So what do you think she did? If they told her to dress the salad, what do you think they did? Ellie knows. They put a dress. She put a dress on the salad. That's so silly.
Now I'm wrong.
That's very, very silly. They said dress the salad. What did they actually mean? What do you put on salad? If you live in the Midwest, you put ranch on your salad, right?
It's a requirement.
So they really meant put the dressing on the salad, but she put a dress on the salad. So silly. So when we're listening to each other, we have to really listen. And we have to be clear when we're speaking, right? Because sometimes people misunderstand what we're saying. And sometimes we have to give a little bit better of an explanation, like when I put the jelly on here. You said, no, Miss Chelsea, that's not where that goes. Try it this way instead, right? Have you ever done that in school where your teacher will give a direction and you'll think she means this, and you're like, oh, wait, she has to give another explanation, right? Has that ever happened to you in school? No? It's happened to me as a teacher lots of times. I've said, hey, do this. I'm like, oh, you need further instruction, right? So we're going to talk about that. The grown-ups are going to talk about that a little bit today, so are we in RE. But first, Miss Anne Marie, I believe, has a new song for us. But thank you for your help. Applause for the children. Applause for Reverend Alex. I don't need applause because I did not do a very good job, but this is a tasty sandwich.
So children, did you know that all you need to make music you carry with you in your body all the time? I'm going to show you something that you can do to help us sing this next song. Would you please stand up with me, and I'll show you, and when you feel ready, you can try it too. Oh, you might want to put the things in a pocket or on the floor because you're going to need those hands. Here it goes.
Now, while you're eating your virtual peanut butter and jelly sandwich, think figuratively of those neighbors who need food too. And think of the first church staff who do such wondrous, creating a marvelous service. The staff will come around, Chris will come around with a basket on one side for the church and the other side for our neighbors. And the committee uses this money to meet our neighbors' needs. Go ahead. Peter Tchaikovsky and played by Marge Hunter.
It is our practice each week to set aside time in our service to hold the joys and concerns on our hearts, the milestones and moments of our lived experience that we know we ought to hold together while we are gathered. I'll be sharing a few that have been offered up for us to hold while we are gathered together. If you have a joy or concern that's a bit too raw or tender to speak out loud in our service, I invite you to reach out to myself, to a member of our congregational care team, or to simply just hold it on your heart as you are held in the love of this community. None of us is ever meant to travel life's journey alone. Will you join me in holding these joys and concerns on our hearts? From Rick and Chris Walter, a joy. Treat yourself and get tickets for Waitress at Old Town Playhouse, playing through October 12th. Super acting, singing, dancing, And Betsy Hammerberg, head costumer, and Nan Worthington, co-lead for props. So go see Waitress, it's a big joy. From Heather Shoemaker. My mother died on Monday. She was the dearest one in the world to me. From Kate Jarvie and Brian Beamer. A joy that our son, who was in North Carolina for a week of art making, is safe after some upheaval from the storm. Hopefully he can get home to Minnesota soon. And from Cynthia, a joy. I've been back here among you for almost 4 weeks. Without my UU connection and dear beloved friends here, losing my perch unexpectedly would have been terrible. Instead, I leave with love, light, and Michigan magic. Let us know. Pause to hold for all the joys and concerns that remain in our hearts but are nevertheless held in the heart of love in our space. And in this time that we set aside for meditation and prayer, I invite you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes, to center yourself as you're accustomed to, and to take a couple of deep breaths at your own pace. In and out. And as it arises in you, call to mind a moment of miscommunication or a challenge in understanding. See if you can picture this time or moment in your mind's eye. Where are you in this scene? What is being said? What was the outcome of this misunderstanding? Spend a moment in that scene. Now, looking at this same scene again, see if you can find what is at the heart of the miscommunication. Was it a particular word or phrase? Perhaps a difference in body language, an expression? What does this scene point out to you as the heart of the matter? And now, if you could go back to that same scene in time, if you could pause things or even switch out with one of those persons, who you were, who it is there with the miscommunication, if you could switch out with one of those people, what would you say or do now? What might be different than what had happened before? Now, when you're ready, wiggle your fingers and toes, open your eyes gently, and join us back in this room. Amen. Will you join us in singing our song of response, Spirit of Life?
Sing in my heart, all stirrings Our theme today is communication, the sharing of receiving of information and directions. We've seen how that always works. We want to avoid what Cool Hand Luke faced when they said, "What we have here is a failure to communicate." We also want to enrich our communion, the sharing of beliefs, traditions, and even food. So please, imagine yourself as a new minister communicating with a very real UU congregation. And this parable today is based on a true story from a Unitarian Universalist minister and a UU congregation. Not long ago, not far away, a Unitarian Universalist minister was starting her first ministry with the UU congregation. The minister, fresh out of seminary, eager to participate in the life of the community and to learn their annual rhythms and traditions. As an aside, this is a very valuable lesson for all new ministers, by the way, because not all congregations come with rule books. In late summer, members of the congregation told her about a beloved tradition each autumn, an annual communion service in which the congregation gathered to worship and express their gratitude for each other. The minister agreed and set out preparing for her first communion service with the congregation. At one store, the minister purchased a loaf of freshly baked bread and another gluten-free loaf to share. At another stop, the minister found a bottle of grape juice that was organic and certified cruelty-free. Everything was ready as she prepared to lead the service. So the Sunday before Thanksgiving, as was their wont, the minister led them in a communion. Some light words were spoken about Jesus as a remarkable human being and beloved moral teacher. By rows, members of the congregation were invited to come forward to receive some bread dipped in a little grape juice. All things went smoothly. The congregation seemed to enjoy this service. Right after the service, a member of the congregation approached the new minister and gave her some feedback. "Wow, we never had a communion quite like that before," the member exclaimed. "Usually we have a little bit of cornbread and some apple cider for our communion service, but what you did today was wonderful. Why haven't we done a communion like that before?" The minister turned bright red. It turns out communion communicated something entirely different to her than it did to the congregation.
Well, how about that for a communion story? And that's actually a true anonymous story from a real UU minister who gave me the permission to share it with you. It illustrates how sometimes what we say and what we mean, or even what we think others say or mean, can sometimes be a little bit off, and sometimes a lot bit off. There's a personal story about this that I've also got the permission to share with you. A recent interaction I had with my husband Connor and a misunderstanding we had. In the last week or so, I was preparing our dinner after just getting home. I'm the cook of our family. And setting out the ingredients and getting all the pans preheated, I heard a question from Connor in the other room. "When is dinner ready?" Immediately, I jumped to the defensive, responding with, "I'm going as fast as I can," frantically rushing around to get the rest of our taco salad going. We have that on rotation pretty often. Sensing the shift in my tone, he then asked, "Why are you so stressed out?" Keep in mind, this all happened while we were actually in separate rooms, I in the kitchen and Connor in the living room, not able to read body language or even our facial expressions. Things felt like they were really starting to get heated. And at this point, we both took a pause and realized that something had gone totally amiss. Connor just asked when dinner was going to be ready, an innocent question enough to someone who's really hungry. I had misinterpreted what he said as a request for me to do it faster, something he wasn't at all sending me in his ask about the timing of dinner. Oh, the things we can miss at times when we rely on our tools and trades of our trusty human communication. While it happens in our personal relationships and connections, this kind of thing can easily happen at church and other places where we human beings tend to gather. Can I get a witness about that? An amen? Am I the only human being that has trouble communicating? I know some of you have seen this here before. All right. Times when we say things we don't mean, we mean things we don't say, and we give out messages that aren't always well or fully received. Needless to say, sometimes our messages can get a little lost in translation, something that happens to all of us from time to time. Today, I want to give you the takeaway that good communication and understanding take a lot of work. It's not an easy thing to do, to work through conflicts and disconnects. And yet, the health of our community depends on our willingness to stay in covenant together and work things out, even when it gets hard. Today, I'll give you 3 solid principles to good communication that you can apply not just to your relationships here at UUCGT, but also to your own lives and connections. Trust me, I'm actually a human communication major. Whoever thought that was an important thing to study in becoming a minister? Kidding, you know why. And don't worry, I definitely do all these things perfectly all the time. Not. These basic principles are the following. 1, the importance of listening and cultivating a posture of curiosity. 2, directly asking for what you need and not expecting people to be able to read your mind. If it's not stated, people don't know it exists. And 3, using compassionate communication in our relationships to keep our language and requests open and gentle and not targeted or pointed. This is also known as the difference between giraffe and jackal language that those of you familiar with nonviolent communication already know. Are there some people that are familiar with that? I've heard about the jackals and giraffes. Okay, well, if that's new to you, don't worry. They're coming up soon. More on giraffes and jackals soon. So these 3 tools will assist you in clearing up disconnects and ensuring that you're sending the clearest message, as well as helping you to best receive the messages that others are sometimes sending. Don't believe me? Let's go ahead and dissect that anonymous communion parable that Dave shared with you through these 3 lenses. First, the principle of listening and having a posture of curiosity. This was the minister's first mistake. She didn't have a posture of curiosity, a lesson every new minister learns the easy way or the hard way in their first few years. While she listened to that initial piece of information that there was an annual communion service the Sunday before Thanksgiving, she then jumped into action with getting things prepared. And it was already too late, having bought the bread and wine and having held the service, that she learned that there was a difference in how this congregation celebrated it. Our impulse to jump in and get started isn't always bad or nefarious. It can even sometimes come from a really good place inside of us. And yet it also sometimes leads to some misunderstandings and some awkward moments. Instead, if the minister had maintained a posture of curiosity, she might have learned more about this beloved annual service. Instead, she might have asked the worship leaders about what this looks like at their church, or maybe even asking for a script or an order of service from the last year's service. So much miscommunication might actually be solved by listening first and getting curious, rather than jumping straight into action based on what we've heard. Do you agree? This leads to our second principle of good communication, asking for what you need. How many of you know already how to ask for what you need? How many of you struggle sometimes to ask for what you need? Raise your hands. I'm one of those people too. You see, the minister isn't the only one with blame here. The congregation didn't make their ask explicit. A new minister couldn't and wouldn't know the rituals or traditions of a congregation. Like Dave said, there's no rule book most congregations have. It's impossible for them to know, and it's even unfair of them to expect them to know automatically just after they hit the ground running. And so that's where the congregation's members and leaders have a role in telling them what they need to know, especially if there's a ritual or tradition that's really important to them. Instead, the members of this church could have said to the brand new minister, each year we do a communion service with cornbread and apple cider. Would you be willing to lead a service like that? And by doing that, by stating it clearly, they then made their ask direct and explicit, rather than assuming the minister will know what they mean by communion right off the bat. And it's not just newer ministers, but even us older ministers need to say and ask for what you mean. Yeah, I know, I'm still going to be the young minister for a while, but after 3 years, I'm hardly new here, all right? Personally, my mind-reading powers aren't getting any better, and I've actually chosen not to play this game anymore. There's just simply too much to infer. Instead, it's important for each of us to ask for what we need and to really work on making our requests clear. It's hard when we have expectations of others and have certain ideas for how things are supposed to go, but it's also hard when we have unspoken expectations that we place on ourselves, like assuming that we must at all times guess what people want or need and never mess things up. Geez, that sounds exhausting. I want to remind you of a line from our covenant. I'm accountable for me, and you're accountable for you. This requires that we each be accountable for asking for what we need and actually owning our feelings. If I don't say what I want or need, those wishes simply don't exist to other people. People aren't just unaware of these requests. I'm actually the only one growing in my resentment rather than making these asks clear. So that's principle number 2. Ask for what you need. Can you all promise me that you're going to ask for what you need? Am I going to have to go back to seminary and brush up on those mind reading classes? Go ahead and see if you can turn to a neighbor on your left and say, ask for what you need. All right, now to your neighbor on your right. Yep. That's good. All right. Great job. I see you're experts already. So this now leads to our third principle, using compassionate communication when we talk to each other. Remember our second UU principle that asks us for justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Those of you that have been curious about when it is that the jackals and giraffes are going to start showing up, this is that moment. Be like this guy. Be like this guy, this giraffe up here. Okay, there's more to it than just that. The good news for our communion story is that the wine and bread led to a happy and even positive outcome. The congregation was brave and curious enough to go along with their new minister for this different kind of communion, welcoming the creativity and the difference. And that's a really neat kind of congregation to belong to, a place where the beloved traditions can be mixed up and even changed and welcoming newer folks to participate. That's the kind of congregation that I want to belong to. Though many of us also know what could have gone wrong from this whole mix-up. When we're hurt, we can sometimes resort to jackal language. That is language that is often coded, judgmental, or even critical. Rather than responding with, wow, we haven't done a communion like that before. That was wonderful. We might instead respond with, obviously you didn't get the memo here. Or what about, you're a bad listener? Or she should have known better. Or even more harmful, something like, we just don't do that Christianity thing here. These would have all been likely responses from members of a church or congregation who experienced something that they weren't expecting. But they don't have to be. Instead, we might respond with what they call compassionate communication, or giraffe language. Phrases like, I'm feeling angry because I really liked our ritual with cornbread and apple cider. Or even, I'm nervous or anxious when I'm in Christian spaces. And I know that there are a few of you here that also share that same anxiety. I want to draw your attention to a key difference between giraffe and jackal language, and it's the shift in ownership in the person's words. While a jackal might say, I'm angry because of you, a giraffe might say, I'm angry because of my expectations. In compassionate communication, our language shifts from putting the emotional ownership on others to actually putting that ownership on ourselves, to own what it is that we feel and to make that apparent and clear. The shift is from you to me. It's amazing how that already changes the dynamic. Instead of criticizing someone for what I'm feeling, I can open up an opportunity for them to hear, or maybe even understand what I'm feeling, by sharing what I feel, not what they did or didn't do. Compassionate communication welcomes others in by giving life and language to your wishes and expectations. It reflects a mature amount of accountability and ownership over your feelings, rather than putting that onus of your feelings on someone else to solve. Let that one sink in a little bit. So to recap, let's look back at our peanut butter and jelly activity. Just how different our ideas and interpretations can be. Who actually has seen that activity before? Or seen some videos maybe online about it? Okay, a fair amount, yeah? As specific as we think we're being, sometimes things can still get crossed or a little lost in translation. So much can be up to interpretation with our language, our words, our body language, even our tone. What I love about this activity is that it illustrates perfectly why you should never, ever have a serious or heated conversation over email or text. Don't do it. I know you think it's going to work. Don't do it. Trust me. There are just so many signals and wires that can get crossed. Just like in our making the sandwiches, there are certain pieces that get lost along the way. You end up with different readings on what people are saying, or worse, you feel more inclined to say things you normally wouldn't because you're behind a screen. Folks, this applies to church emails too. I'm serious. In the end, if you're going to want your kind of peanut butter and jelly sandwich, then it's going to take good listening, asking for what you need, and using compassionate communication in order to make it happen. Or just giving up and doing it yourself. We often say, it's just easier if I do it. I know I'll do it right. And here's why that's not actually what we're trying to do here. While it's tempting to go our own way and do things our way, that's not what we've aspired to do here together. Our covenant asks us to hold each other through joy and conflict. This is where the rubber meets the road. Conflict is exactly what happens in community. It's inevitable. The point of having a covenant is not to avoid conflict. Good luck trying. Instead, it's to welcome conflict in and help us to work through our differences together. Again, good, compassionate communication takes a lot of work. It's something that requires a fair amount of effort and practice, especially if we want to do it well. None of us will ever do it perfectly all the time. If you're getting that message from this, that's not the point. None of us will ever do it perfectly. At times, we may even slip up or grow defensive. And that's what happens in human connections, especially those with people we trust and are our most vulnerable with. If working through conflict and holding one another through it isn't what you've signed up for, well, then this might not be the congregation for you. In this place, we're not expecting you to be perfect, though we are expecting you to put in the work. Here, we're expecting you to bring your fullest self and to welcome others in to do the same. Here, you'll actually find people open and willing to say, oops, I messed up. And actually, this is what I've been trying to say. There is so much grace here as we try our best to live our highest values. That's the kind of community that we're building together. Curious people who aren't afraid to mess up or admit when they've missed the mark or even fallen short. So to close, I invite you to journey with one of these questions, or maybe a few of them, in the coming week. See if there's one that jumps out at you. How might I be more curious and open to listening, rather than jumping to judgments or conclusions? How might I be more curious? How might I start asking for what I need, even when this is really hard for me to do? Remember, nobody can read minds. If you don't express it, You're the one that's not owning your needs. And lastly, how might I bring compassion into my communication? First here at UUCGT, and then into the wider world. Remember, we openly welcome all as we respond to the needs of our world. This is our great covenant together. Now go out and do it. Amen. Let's join now for a moment of stillness together. And if you would rise now in body or in spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, number 1017, Building a New Way, in your teal hymnals. We also have the lyrics up on the screen. Anne-Marie, Bill, and Margie will lead us in singing together.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Rid and grief and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are
Please be seated.
Our words, as I turn the light off, right? Come from Carolyn McDade. She says, listen to the voices that beg to differ from the rest. Listen to the voices that beg to differ from the rest. The beauty of each person, the power of our truth, the wisdom of our experience sustain and make us community. May the voices gathered here become sustenance. May the voices gathered here become transformation. May the voices gathered here be for all.
All right, party people, this is the best part of the service you've been waiting for. That time of announcements. Promise there's only a couple today. So join us after our service today for a committee expo with all the different types of teams and groups that are available here to plug into at UUCGT. I really invite you especially, there's going to be some fun and treats out there. I invite you, if you can, I challenge you actually, to visit a table that you don't yet know very much about and see if you can learn more about what that team or group does here at UUCGT. So join us for that fun. And in the spirit of getting involved, we're still in need of 1 or 2 brave souls to take on coordinating the Harvest Gathering over at Twin Lakes. That's actually our beloved tradition, the Sunday before Thanksgiving here at UUCGT. And this is a long-standing beloved tradition for our community, but if we don't get the help, we won't be able to hold it this year. All of the roles, instructions, and tasks are actually detailed and well written out to make it really easy for somebody to want to step in, or maybe 2 people. Chris and Rick Walter are actually offering to help mentor this person or these couple of people in kind of getting involved. But if we want to have this celebration that we love to have each year, we're going to need some folks to step up, or else we might have to cancel it. So this is a real need. Do you have an announcement?
You want to talk about the board of the committees?
We are debuting a new job task board type thing, an opportunity for service here at UUCGT. So if you see kind of there are some places where if you want to sign up for a certain task, you want to help make coffee, you want to bake some treats, you want to help greet, this little easel right outside the door there is a good place for you to stop and see. And I really encourage you, if you're nervous about getting involved, to really kind of think about checking that out and putting your name down. And the last bit of announcement I have is an invitation to a discussion coming up, Why Plant Native and How to Do It. This will be for next Sunday, October 6th, after the service, where you can learn more about the Sacred Grounds project that we just had here, a really, really wonderful initiative that so many of you have helped out with. So October 6th, after the service, is a chance for you to learn more about that program here. All right. You all are sufficiently alive still, even after the announcements, so that's good. At least I think. I shouldn't presume to know.
Before we go out into the social hall, do you think Amelia Bedelia has iced the cookies?
I think you're right, Margaret. I think you might find some big ice cubes on top of those cookies there. That's brilliant. That is just brilliant. We need another Amelia Bedelia story sometime, I think. Well, now if you would rise, please, and join hands, or join us in this wonderful symbol here, the hands outstretched. That means, please do not touch me. This is for those of you that don't like to be touched, don't want to touch, don't feel comfortable. Those of you online are invited to outstretch your hands too to us as we're gathered in this room. And in the spirit of covenant, community, and commitment, and in the spirit of our connections to one another, may we be made ready to serve one another and create the world we so desperately dream of. Go in peace, pass a little squeeze if you can. Grow in love.